Yeah, we've been in this series, this No Live Tell series, right? Like, what does that mean? I like basic stuff. I grew up in church as a little kid. I can remember running around, the room. I grew up in Northern Virginia, and when church was over, coming around the room and hopping on the drum set and like beating on the drums until somebody came to remove me. And then I was faster than anybody. Honestly, I was like just dash, right? And then back around and back on the drums. And true story, some people were talking to my parents and said, "Whose kid is that?" And like any of you all would do, don't judge. They said, "Yeah, I don't, no clue." No clue. True story. So that was me. I grew up in church. And I think a lot of us in here either grew up in church or sort of grew up in church or didn't grow up in church at all. And I think we all have our own view of things. We all are lucky in a way. I'm lucky that I grew up in church. Some of you are lucky that you sort of grew up in church, and some of you are kind of lucky you didn't grow up in church if you're just showing up this Sunday, let me tell you. So what I see when I look at that, I get to spend a good amount of time with a lot of people and have a lot of conversations, and I work in the marketplace. I work with contractors, and so we end up with conversations that have a little tinge of this and a little tinge of that, and my heart just always goes out. When we start to talk about this, my heart goes away from religion. It goes away from rules and regulation. It really just goes to like, man, what was Jesus thinking? If this gospel is about Jesus, and it is, right? What really was he thinking? What really is the truth? And in a day and age, not that it's a whole lot different than it's ever been, but it sure seems a whole lot different than it's ever been. The truth is so hard to find. Amen? It's so hard. There's like different colors of it and different shades of it. And well, it's different for this people group and it's different for that people group. And well, if I say that's true, does that mean that I'm unpopular? I don't want to be unpopular. I want to be somebody people likes me. So maybe I'll just go along with it, but only with this friend over here, not that. It's just exhausting. And so when we sit here and say, hey, we want to live, know, live, and tell, I love that because it's a very simple thing. I like simple. I can get caught up in the semantics. I can get caught up in the rules. I'm a technician by nature, so I can get caught up in what makes something work. And there's a lot of things that make something work. And I think in the church, in Christianity, especially perhaps in our country, we can get really caught up in, hey, what are all the pieces that make this work? I want to know all these pieces before I jump in. I want to know all these pieces and know that I'm a Christian. I want to know all these pieces, and after a while, what do we kind of do? It's just working. I grew up working on air conditioners, and I had to learn to not come up to a homeowner and go, here's exactly what's going wrong. Because after about 30 seconds, they're just like, I really don't care. Just fix it, right? And that's kind of where we are a little bit with Christianity. After a while, we just throw our hands up and go, hey, it's kind of good enough. This is what I notice about myself anyways. I've noticed that. Hey, you know what? I go every Sunday, and it feels really good. It's just, this is right. I don't agree with everything sometimes. That kind of hurt my feelings. Maybe I'll take a Sunday off. I'm gonna regain from that, and I'll do like a Wednesday night service. Hey, I'm really feeling it. I'm going to go on a missions trip. Oh, man, that was awesome. I feel so good for a week. I'm going to give my whole life to this. 2 weeks later, kind of back to like every other Sunday. I mean, right? Because there's just so much to it. Let me just tell you, it's a whole lot more simple than you think. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't overcomplicate it. That know, live, tell Aaron talked about last week, there's this knowing, and we can't ignore it. There's things we really need to learn. A lot of current culture would say, no, you just go for like great music, and you go to like get filled up, and then that gets you through a week, and you come back. I don't really think that's really it. Like, I can't find it anywhere. I can't open the Bible and go, that's in there. And so for me, I always go back to when I'm in my right mind, when I'm thinking about something correctly, I go, wait a minute, hold on, let me think about this. How would I know where the truth is? And I always need a north. I need a compass. We all need that compass. And so this is that compass. This is that thing that goes, wait a minute, is that really in there? And without knowing, there's no way that I can say that's right or that's wrong. That's proper for me or that's improper for me. I can feel that it's not right. I can feel that it's right, but am I correct? Because I am just what? I'm just a guy with feelings, if you know me, lots of them, somewhat impulsive. Quiet, babe. Somewhat impulsive. I wasn't talking to Aaron. My wife's over here too. My work wife and my wife sit in the same row over here. But I know that I can be my best liar. Like I can be my best, worst advice. So I have to go back to what is real? What's real in this life? So that know, live, tell, I love. We've got to know some up here, and we really have to know it here. Just knowing from here up just makes us know all the rules and try to establish and figure out all the rules. And we typically turn into somebody that then is really good at pointing out those that aren't abiding by the rules, right? Because our faith is just up here. And then there's a lot of us that start to jump in, and here's where faith begins. Faith begins is where we cross over that line and go, well, now I'm going to believe. I don't know it all, but I'm starting to feel like I know something. And then that's where faith is born. And then we can live in that faith. It doesn't mean we don't read the Bible anymore, and I feel like that's where a lot of us have gotten. I'll be honest, I don't wake up every morning and read 5 chapters in my Bible. I just don't. It's not in me. It wasn't placed in me as a child. I resented the Bible as a child. I couldn't read it. I couldn't understand it. I went to Christian schools and you had to memorize it. You had no idea what you were memorizing. Awkward. It's kind of nice now because verses will come out of nowhere. But now I understand them, and I really didn't understand them then. So if you're here this morning, you're going, yeah, but this Bible, this thing can be that compass, but I just don't. Well, here's what I'll tell you. I'll tell you there's 3 reasons why you wouldn't take this and go, let me just make that my compass. A is you just don't spend enough time with it. You just don't spend enough time with it. It's a big, thick book. Depending on which version you're reading, it has a lot of words that are kind of hard to understand because we don't talk like that anymore, let's face it. And so you just don't spend the time with it. B, you don't understand it. If you do try to spend time with it, you don't seek to understand. You seek to maybe get through something, get through a Bible study, or get through reading a chapter a day so you can read the Bible in a year, but you just don't pick up on it. Because we weren't really taught, hey, take that one half of that chapter and then just study that chapter. Like pick up a commentary and read what it's about. Guys, I'm not telling you to go to Bible school and figure out Greek. I'm really not. Some of you will, and that's awesome. But when I don't understand something, when I'm looking at something, I'll pick up a commentary from somebody smarter than me who writes 20 pages about 4 verses, and then I go, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That makes sense to me now. Our verse that we're going to spend a lot of time in today is in 1 John. I like John's style. I think he was feeling the heat from Paul writing all these books of the Bible and stuff, and he's kind of feeling a little bit behind, so he's like, I got 1 John, I got 2nd, I got 3rd, right? 2nd and 3rd could fit inside of 1 John, and that's not saying much because 1 John's 4 pages. But I like his style. It's kind of like me in school. I'm going to read through this, and what I'm really praying for is that the first time we read through it and the last time we read through it is 100% different. I know that some of you in here are going to see it, and some of you in here are going to go, I don't like it. And I don't blame you. 1 John 2, we're going to start in verse 3. And by this we know that we have come to know him, if we keep his commandments. Whoever says, I know him, but does not keep his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. But whoever keeps his word, in him truly the love of God is perfected. By this we may know that we are in him. Whoever says he abides in him ought to walk in the same way in which he walked. Ugh. It's kind of like, man, I just give up. Just dismiss church. I can't do this whole thing. Whoever really knows him, this is how you know that you're a Christian, a Christ follower, that you really know him. You keep his commandments. Well, I'm out. I must not be a Christian. That's what I heard growing up. That's the part right there that a lot of verses, we could read that and go, why would I even try? This whole church thing is crazy. Who do these people think that they are? Right? Anybody feeling that? It's a little bit heavy, right? It's a slippery road, and I feel like that's really what gets us into this place of either confusion. That can be confusing. Fear, I could never do that. and then finally into comfort. You know, I'll just take like the motivational stuff. Let me find a place that doesn't really make me uncomfortable. When I was studying, I was talking to my wife this week and having a conversation after Aaron and I had a conversation or two, and she's like, hey, just, be nice. And it's hard for me. It's hard for me because when I read this, I'm really healthily hard on myself. I really see it and go, man, I wouldn't sugarcoat this to me, so why would I, if I was truly doing what I feel called to do, why would I sugarcoat that to you? So I've said this in the past, a church is a place to come and be comforted. Man, be comforted. We're going to get there. But it is a place that if you're not going and being uncomforted, I'll leave that one alone. So that confusion and that fear and that comfort. This morning, I love how the Lord works. Again, my wife doesn't always. She's like, well, you have notes, right? Or you've written out a sermon, right? I just, I don't, it's not yet. It's just not happening. And then I'll come here, and then sometimes stuff will come, and sometimes not, and then all of a sudden I'll just step on stage. And so this morning, I woke up, and I have this little book. It's called How Not to Speak of God. And I don't know, Aaron probably gave it to me or something, and I was supposed to read it a year ago, and I read the first 2 pages, which constitutes, yes, I'm reading that book. Okay, let's just be fair. And it sits on my nightstand, and guess what this book does for me? It covers up the little green light on my phone charger that blares into my eyes when I open my eyes at night. That's what this book's done, and it's a great, you can put a glass on it, and it doesn't stain it at all. So it's a great coaster. But I woke up this morning, and I looked at it, and something said to open this book. I'm like, oh man, I've already got 2 or 3 books. I've kind of read about some of this stuff and looked up different things this week, and if I add up another book, I might as well have a dolly to bring everything up here. And I woke it up, I woke up, I picked it up, and this just popped out, chapter 2, which I probably haven't made it there yet, but I am there now. And if I skip parts of chapter 1, I ain't going back. Who's with me on that? I'm not that guy. Wasn't God's will for me to read chapter 1. Sorry, Lord. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say that from up here. It's an anecdote. It's a story. I love it. Stick with me. It's uncomfortable. There's an old anecdote in which a mystic, a Christian mystic, an evangelical pastor, and a fundamentalist preacher die on the same day and awake to find themselves by the pearly gates. And when you think of Christian mystic, think of somebody that's in touch with, you heard Rob talk about the Holy Spirit. Well, that would be a mystical thing. Like that's something you can't touch, you can feel. It's not something you can point out and say, here's a fact. So when you think of Christian mystic, think of something like, that's somebody that really is like listening to the Lord. That's somebody that really gets that there is something going on. They all die same day, and they find themselves at the pearly gates. Upon reaching the gates, they are promptly greeted by Peter, who informs them that before entering heaven, they must be interviewed by Jesus concerning the state of their doctrine. That'd be fun, wouldn't it, to watch? Not to be one of the people, but to watch. The first to be called forward is the Christian mystic, who is quietly ushered into a room. 5 hours later, the mystic reappears with a smile saying, oh man, I thought I had gotten it all wrong. Then Peter signals to the evangelical pastor, who stands up and enters the room. After a full day has passed, the pastor reappears with a frown and says to himself, how could I have been so foolish? Finally, Peter asks the fundamentalist to follow him. The fundamentalist picks up his well-worn Bible and walks into the room. A few days pass. That sounds like a party. A few days pass with no sign of the preacher. Then finally the door swings open and Jesus himself appears exclaiming, how could I have gotten it all so wrong? It's funny, right? It's not funny? So what is at the issue in this anecdote is 2 different ways of approaching our religious traditions. See 2 paths, okay? The first is represented by the Christian mystic who is committed to his tradition. He's committed to it. He's felt things. He maybe grew up in church. He's seeking God's face. He's committed to that tradition, yet acknowledges that it falls short of grasping the mind of God. This approach does not deny the existence of a relationship and does not imply that we cannot commit actively to the wisdom of our particular Christian tradition. It simply acknowledges that the relationship we have with God cannot be reduced to our understanding of that relationship. It's a relationship that's lived out in faith. Yes, there's knowing, but it's a relationship that knows no matter how much I figure out, I'll never figure it all out. The second way, the second road look at, the second path, shown in a weak sense by the evangelical pastor and in a strong sense by the fundamentalist preacher. So one path, a strong gate, if you will, and then a very intense, strong gate and a weak gate, relates to a type of idolatrous relation in which we believe that our ideas, I think this will really mirror what we see a lot these days, represent the way that God and the world really operate. The weak sense, testified by the pastor, is unintentional and dissipates in the face of divine encounter. Hear that. I know, but after this divine encounter with Jesus, man, how could I have been so foolish? Oh, I had a lot of that wrong. While the second, evidenced by the fundamentalist with the old Bible, right, is Pharisaic in nature, for it refuses to give up its interpretation of God even in the presence of God. It's confusing. We've made Christianity so confusing. We've made living it so confusing. We've made it to where there's so many different colors of it and so many different ways not to do it, mostly what we hear, that we've made up ways to do it as a response to it. I have a story. This, again, is one of those things that popped out. Aaron and I were talking, I think, yesterday, and this stuff weighs heavily on our heart. It doesn't weigh heavily on our heart because we want to make sure that everybody in our church is perfect, or we want to make sure that, if somebody's sinning in our church, that nobody else, it's not any of that stuff. We just sit there, and this really was a conversation about something totally separate from our church, and then it evolved into a conversation, a really heart place where we just go, man, how do we continue to press into this? How do we continue to press in a world that says, if you press in, that's wrong. If you call this ultimate truth, that's wrong. And it's so frustrating. He mentioned an article to me, and I'll just read a few things, but this was done by American Worldview Inventory. George Barna, big survey person. He's, if you were to know surveys, you'd go, yes, it's legitimate. 2,000 people were interviewed. And what they said about that 2,000 is the plus or minus accuracy is about 2 percentage points. So it's fairly accurate, one would say, right? And it talks about, they interviewed 51 beliefs and behaviors among Christian groups. So this is our people, right? This is our church. This is who we would bump into in the grocery store that says, oh yeah, totally, man. When I was a kid, said the prayer, like, I'm good to go. Oh, that's awesome. This is our college kids going to a Christian campus. This is our, mom and dad with 2.3 kids. I mean, this is your ordinary average. This is us, if you will. And just a few statistics in there that really just make you go, how do we keep pressing into this without becoming so unpopular nobody listens anymore? And that becomes a decision where we go, I think we just keep using this as the compass, and if there's 4 people left one day, there's just 4 people left one day. And we've done our best to not. I'm sure there are times when our flesh takes over in a moment and we use a different word up here. I pray that doesn't happen, but it could. But man, there are so many times when you just go, here it comes. Lord, don't make me say that. Oh, I just said it. They're probably all not going to come back. But just a few things I highlighted. A majority, this is about evangelicals, 52% of evangelicals reject absolute moral truth. 2/3 of Pentecostals and Charismatics, 69%, reject absolute moral truth. Man, that's an easy way to live. That's comfortable. They didn't wake up that way. They just are allowed to be that way. They're allowed to go, I don't have to listen to that. I can build myself a pretty nice kingdom here on earth without all the discomfort of this set of rules over here. Or I went to church as a kid. I went to a Christian school, and man, that was just a bunch of, I knew they weren't really perfect, but they expected me to, and they threw me out of 5 Christian schools. True story for me. And I'm never living that way again. I wasn't that bad. I just was misunderstood. Hey, you guys are here until I stop talking, so you just keep laughing. You just added 4 minutes, all right? I can send this to your Aaron can. 48% believe a person who is good enough or does good enough good works can earn eternal salvation. This is real stuff. 40% accept lying as morally acceptable if it advances personal interests or protects one's reputation. You can come up and grab it, and you can have it if you want. That's what we're dealing with. That's what we're pressing into. So how you live your life, if you're thinking, well, it really isn't that important, there's at least 2,000 people out there, 50% of them in that one last statement, that could really use a you in their life that understands a compass like this. A you in their life that isn't so watered down and mediocre and scared to be unpopular that would walk up to them and go, hey man, let's grab coffee. Yeah, talk about that. Hey, where'd you get that from? Man, okay. What? Oh, what do I think? You might not like it, but I've built so much relationship with you, now you're asking me, hey, could I do have some feedback, but it might be unpopular. I'm not the popular kid. Here's what I think. Oh, I don't like that. Yeah, I don't really like it all the time either. But it helps me because I want my life as a Christian, I want this live portion to be fairly simple. And one of the worst things about driving in traffic with 3 kids in the back seat and somebody next to you that knows where they're going and everything else is what? Knowing where to go. After you drive for 5 or 10 or 20 years, driving really isn't an issue. Well, for some of you it is, especially if you're from New Jersey. But driving really isn't an issue. The issue is I can push the pedal down, I can use the brake, I can use the steering wheel, but sometimes I just don't really know where I'm going. And are we or are we not constantly in uncharted waters? If right now you find yourself in charted waters, like you just know where you're going and it's all really, I would just stress, you're not living your life right. You're in a comfortable spot that's become routine, and I know there's something boiling deep down inside of you that says, I was made for more than this. Of course you were made for more than this, because God, the creator of the universe, literally put that in you. He made you. There's nobody like you. You weren't born, you weren't created and made to figure out life by 30 and then put it on autopilot. That's why it's so uncomfortable when you do. I had it made 10 years ago, autopilot. I went and screwed it all up. Why? Because it was just something, I was like, this isn't right. You were made to be so much more than the world's told you to accept that you are. You were made to be in uncharted waters, and you were made to need a North Star, to need a compass, and it's just this right here. It's really not that confusing to take that into heart and go, okay, that's my decision. That's the hard part. The hard part is to be unpopular and go, nope, this is it. I'm sorry, this is what I believe. The hard part is not opening up these pages and calling somebody and going, hey, what did that mean? Hey, what's that mean right there? Buying a book or looking it up on 6 bazillion websites and going, hey, 1 John commentary by not somebody that's an idiot. And then reading through and going, oh my word, I like this guy. A, his books are really short. B, he's really smart. In Nashville, Tennessee, 1996, January, 4,000 baseball coaches gathered at the Gaylord at the Opryland Resort. Fantastic place, right? It's a big convention center. They're probably all had rooms there, right? They had this big conference center where you come and you go to hear somebody. 1 or 2 days in, there was different breakouts. The place was half full, 3/4 full. And then at 1 p.m., the second or third day, a guy by the name of John Scalinos shows up. Now, John Scalinos had been coaching college baseball since 1948. This is 1996. He had been retired for about 5 years. Most of the people in there that were really, really baseball coaches saw him. They were all in that room. That room was suddenly full at 1 p.m., second or third day. The ones that have been like, well, let's go downtown Nashville. We'll wait till John gets up. You know how the conferences work, right? You don't actually go to all of them. You just check in. That way you were there if your boss asks. Anyways. I know how you are. I do a lot of those. John Scalinos goes to walk up, 1 p.m. He shuffled to the stage to an impressive standing ovation, wearing dark polyester pants, a light blue shirt, and a string around his neck. Hanging from that string was a home plate, a baseball home plate. If you don't know what that is, it's where the batter, no, I'm not going to go through that. A home plate, it's where the batter stands. It's where the pitcher throws. It's where the batter makes a split-second decision. I can hit that to a place that nobody's going to get it, and I can advance to a base or not. It all happens in milliseconds. These kids literally start at, 2, 3, 4 years old throwing that ball. They go up through all the ranks. By the time these pitchers are in the major leagues, how many pitches have they thrown? It's in the probably hundreds of thousands at that point. Good ones, bad ones, wild ones, curveballs, fastballs, something into the ground, something right at the pitcher because they were ticked, right? Or at the guy batting. So he walks up there. He talks for about 25 minutes. There's a few people in there that are kind of going, does he even remember that he walked up there? Is he okay? He finally says, you're probably all wondering why I'm wearing home plate around my neck. Or maybe you think I escaped from Camarillo State Hospital. No, I may be old, but I'm not crazy. The reason I stand before you today is to share with you baseball people what I've learned in my life, what I've learned about home plate in my 78 years. Listen, I'm guilty of this. I'm guilty of a lot of things. That's why I feel like I'm pretty good at standing up here and going, hey, this is the wrong way to do it. Find somebody that's got the 78 years. Don't find somebody like-minded to you to give you advice. We're back to comfort again. I like hanging out with that guy. We never disagree. I like hanging out with that guy. He has my same worldview. I like going to that church. Never mind. Several hands went up when Scalinos asked a question to Little League coaches. Hey, Little League coaches, do you know how wide home plate is? A couple went up and they said, 17 inches? Almost more of a question. Any Babe Ruth coaches out here, how wide is home plate? And a few of them went, I think it's 17 inches, right? Like they were hoping they didn't say it out loud in a group of their peers and then they were wrong on something. Because clearly something tricky was going on with this guy. Another long pause. That's right. Now, how many high school coaches do we have in the room? Bunch of hands start to go up. There's more high school coaches than Babe Ruth and Little League. High school coaches, how wide is home plate? 17 inches. Any college coaches? Is it any different in college? Lots of college hands went up. 17 inches. Yep, you're right, 17 inches. Any minor league coaches? Guess what it was? What do you guys think? How big do you think the plate is for 17 inches? Or for a home plate? How big is it? 17 inches? Yeah, you're right. 17 inches. Any big leagues? Any major leagues in here? How wide's home plate? What do you think the answer was? It's good guess. It's a good guess. You're tracking. He said 17 inches. And he said, and what do they do with a big league pitcher who can't throw the ball over and in between 17 inches? What do they do with them? They get rid of them. Why? It's the rules of engagement. It is what it is. It's black and white. It's a home plate. What they don't do, he says, they don't say, hey, that's okay, Jimmy. You can't hit a 17-inch target? Well, we'll make it 18 inches. Or 19 inches. Hey, we'll make it 20 inches so you can have a better chance of hitting it. We'd hate to see you lose your job. If you can't hit that, man, just let us know. We'll make it wider. Hey, what the heck? What about 25 inches wide? He says, coaches. So I'd say, hey, you guys. What do we do when our best player shows up late to practice? When our team rules forbid facial hair and guys show up unshaven? What if he gets caught drinking? Do we hold him accountable or do we change the rules to fit him? Do we widen home plate? How long's baseball been around? A minute. Anybody ever widened home plate? The chuckles gradually faded. He turned the plate towards himself, and he started drawing on it. And he turned it around, and it revealed that he'd made that home plate, which is shaped like this, with a peak. He'd drawn 2 windows and a door on it. And he turned it around, and he said, this is the problem in our homes today, with our marriages, with the way we parent our kids, with our discipline. We don't teach accountability. And there's no consequences for failing to meet standards. We widen the plate. Then he turned it around again, and he added a small American flag, and he said, this is the problem in our schools today. The quality of our education is going downhill fast, and teachers have been stripped of the tools they need to be successful. And to educate and discipline our young people, we are allowing others to widen home plate. Where is that getting us? And then he turned it around, and he added a flag to the top. And this is the problem in the church, where powerful people in positions of authority have taken advantage of young children only to have such an atrocity swept under the rug for years. Our church leaders are widening home plate, and I could add a lot more to that list. He concluded and said, if I am lucky, you will remember one thing from this old coach today. It is this: if we fail to hold ourselves, listen, if we failed to hold ourselves to a higher standard, a standard of what we know to be right, if we fail to hold our spouses and our children to the same standards, if we are unwilling or unable to provide a consequence when they do not meet the standard, and if our schools and churches and our government fail to hold themselves accountable for those they serve, there is but one thing to look forward to: dark days ahead. Some of us have been around a minute, and we've seen home plate widen and widen and widen and widen and widen and widen and widen. Everybody gets a trophy. Guys, this right here, that's your home plate. That's the 17 inches. That's it. That's it. It's not confusing. It's not really hard. It's not really that hard. In Matthew, I love this. I had no idea what this verse meant as a kid. This is one of those ones where I was like, what's a yoke? Not yoked. Where's Greg at? Not yoked. Okay, he's around here somewhere. Matthew 11:28. This is Jesus talking. In 25, it says, at that time, Jesus declared. He's still declaring, y'all. He says this: come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Goodness. I don't know what's harder to carry sometimes. Being a good or great Christian, or just throwing it all to the side and just being really good at the world. Probably the heaviest thing is trying to be both, quite honestly, because you just really don't have a home plate. You don't have anything where you goes, I got it. I hit it. It was a strike. I think there's something in us that goes, are we doing okay or are we not doing okay? Am I winning at this whole life thing or not winning at this whole life thing? Because if I just know if I'm winning or not, I'll adjust to start winning. But then there's all these home plates, and there's these wide home plates. Well, if you just believe in this, then you can have all of this, this, and this, that Jesus, right? And if you do this, you can do this. Hey, if you're this one, you got to do this and that. You got to go to church, you got to love Jesus, and you gotta. This is it. This is it. This is the only home plate. He's literally talking to us, y'all. All who labor and are heavy laden, I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls, because my yoke is easy and my burden is light. What he meant by yoke is, you're going to love this. Hey guys, I realize how the Pharisees have taken everything up until here, have taken all of this right here. I realize how they've taken all that and they've laid it on top of you and expected you to carry it, and it's heavy and there's no way you can, and you're trying as much as you can, and there's 600 different laws that you have to figure out before 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning. I realize how heavy that is. Hey, guess what? That's not the way I read this, and I came to rewrite this story. I am the way, the truth, and the life. And guess what? My yoke, the way I read this right here, it's light. And I carry it with you. That blew my mind. I read it a couple weeks ago, and I was like, that's what he meant by yoke? I just keep seeing oxen and like a wooden thing. Eddie, are you laughing at me? Is that directly pointed at me, or is that like you're laughing with me, or? Okay, just checking. You're laughing with me. All right. We are in church. Right? Oh, does that feel a little better? Oh, wait a minute. But let's go back to 1 John. Let's go back to that. Because Jared, now I'm confused. Because I read that earlier and that was really heavy. If you have your Bibles, I'm going to start in verse 1 for just a minute or two, and then I'm going to wrap up. 1 John, he says, that which was from the beginning, which we have heard, which we have seen with our own eyes, which we looked upon and have touched with our hands concerning the word of life. 1 John is saying, hey guys, just so you know, we were sort of there. Like we were actually there for this. So he's writing this to the church, a church at that time, and the church right now. That's us. That's you sitting in the seats. You're not removed from this. These aren't archaic, old black and white words written down that somebody interpreted, and maybe they got them right and maybe they didn't. These are actually the words for you sitting in the seat that you're sitting in. This is them saying, hey, by the way, we were sort of like we were there. Like this is a first account. And I want you to understand what this actually means. We skip back down to where we were. Verse 3, and by this we know that we have come to know him. How many of you just kind of somewhere deep inside go, am I really doing it right? I know one of my biggest fears is that I'm going to show up and I'm going to show up to heaven and I'm going to be taken into that same room and he's going to go, man, you just had you had more in you, man. You just kind of had it off by 5 degrees. Hey, what were you thinking? Hey, man, I know you went and tried to do a lot of things, but I just wanted to know you first. I wanted you just to know me. This wasn't about what you do for me. This is about what I had done for you. So it's nice to read a verse and understand it and spend time with it, that we can read that and go, oh, that's how I'll know? Because I like A and B decisions. Don't take me to Cheesecake Factory, y'all. I can't read that whole menu. I literally won't open it. I'll just get the miso salmon with brown rice. I won't read. It's just too many things. I like really simple. This is how we know that we have come to know him. If we keep his commandments. Now, that feels like a heavy burden. Amen? Man, I know I can't recite all the 10 of them right now, but it's a lot, and I'm sure there's more that weren't even on the 10. Like I'm sure there's some notes scratched on the back of those tablets, like there's more things we got to do. Like let's talk about church attendance. Let's talk about tithing. Let's talk about, right? That's heavy. But what did Jesus say though? And this is a guy that knew Jesus. He said his burden was what? His yoke was what? The way he understood the scriptures, the way he understands his Father, God, was what? Easy. All you got to do is know what that word keep means. And then know what that word commandments means. Because if I'm like a lot of people, I'd go, man, I'm not reading that one. Let me go find a place that says it a little differently. Hey, what's the Message version say? Maybe that's a little softer. The word keep in this, I don't know y'all. I don't know Greek, y'all. But I know when I don't know, so I look it up. The word keep, ready? Literally means to look upon something as your treasure and therefore to guard it as your treasure. First John's not saying, hey, you'll know you're a Christian if you keep all these rules. Then you'll know. Then you'll make it into heaven. He was the guy that literally saw the scars, right? He knows he was there. How could he then write, oh, you need to do all the rules? That whole Jesus crucified thing, he raised from the dead, actually, I saw him. It was crazy, but hey, that doesn't count. He didn't really need to do that. What you need to do is, that's not what he's saying. And then the second word, commandments, you could say, yeah, but what about all those commandments? I can't even memorize all of them. I don't have time for that. In this regard, not going to go into a lot of it, but in this regard, here's what he says. Those commandments had to do with two things. I hope some of you already know what they are. To love God and to love others. He boiled it down to two things. Hey, that's a lot, and you'll never be able to keep all of them. But what if you treasured loving God and if you treasured loving others? And the flip side to that is this. If you take this and you just smell it and you just take a few minutes with it and you open it up to anywhere. That's the part I love, because there's not one word in here that isn't for everybody in this room. Oh, find a book that's for everybody in the room. There's only been one printed, and it's still the bestseller last I checked. Open it up. Spend time with it. Seek to understand it, which hopefully takes a lifetime, because guys, you never arrive. Sorry. Some of y'all are like, shoot, I've done the one-year reading plan 10 years in a row. You still haven't arrived. You especially know there's more in it for you. Seek to understand it. Sit down with people that do, or that want to seek to understand it. Buy books that other people have poured their life into understanding this one, to write it down for you to understand it, and keep a filter in there of, hey, what is Jesus saying? It's not about all the things that I do. It's about what he does in my life, because the reason you'll know you're a Christian is because you'll just kind of walk like a Christian. If you truly know him, you'll start doing the things that are in here. That's the whole point. It's not do all those things so that you'll be a Christian. No. Fall in love with this book and fall in love with a Jesus that saved you, and you can't help but do it. You can't help but love your God. You can't help but love those around you. But if we're too busy, and there's too much going on, and there's too much success to be had, and there's too much of my kingdom to build, we just won't have time for it. It's just time and energy, like any relationship in the room. Do you put the time in? Do you try to understand? Would you stand up with me, please?